Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Thursday, August the 28th, which makes this the news and events for Wednesday, August 27th, day 1281 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do, everybody? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you from this major European capital, currently under siege. And guys, we are under a drone and missile alert. And, we've been expecting, the numbers have been small lately, right? Like last night, for example, it wasn't even 100 drones sent at Ukraine with a 78% interception rate by mobile air defense units and other air defense. We've hardly broken 100 drones. I think in the last 2 weeks, we only saw one Iskander-M come in. So the great fear here in Kyiv right now is not that the Russians are running out of this stuff, but rather that they are hoarding it up for a massive attack. And there are a bunch of drones inbound right now. They do not appear to be targeting Kyiv as much as they are headed to the west, out to where the industrial base is, the military industrial base is for the country. So we shall see, but you might hear some pops and bangs tonight. How's everybody doing? I see the peeps are coming in. Inventor. It took me all that time to get that again. I do not feel it is as obvious as you think it is. Hey, Raven. Hey, Chef Deb. Tweeber Jr. Hey, Kiwi Annie. Hey, Joe, what do you know? How you doing, Anthony, Tommy Tom? Hey, Steve Kennedy, Mike Kelly, Carl, good evening, Nicola Jones. Hey, Debbie. There's Scully. Scully was in my live this morning. I did a live. I'm going to start doing lives in the morning, I think, a little bit here and there anyway. We had a really great walk around Kyiv this morning, and I appreciate the people that hung out for that and were interested in that. Particularly Norbert Hackoff, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Big thank you to Norbert, who sponsored this morning's live and tonight's live. Hey, Carol. I'm a big fan of Illinois. Just give me a minute, Clive. Just give me a minute. Hey, Akron. How's everybody doing? Thank you, Mike Kelly. I didn't see Norbert come in. I'm not sure he's here. Hey, Maddie Wright. Hey, Lil Red. He doesn't always make the lives, but he did make it this morning. 3 a.m. Eastern time. Yes, well, that's 10 a.m. here, right? Right now it's 5 on the East Coast of the United States. It's midnight here in Kyiv. So, guys, let's see. What do we got going on today? The biggest thing, and this came up last night. What was that guy's name? I can't think now. Last night told us all that the Ukrainian armed forces had acknowledged that it was a Flamingo, one of the new FP5 Flamingo missiles, that struck the drone-carrying cargo ship in the Caspian Sea. How many times on this channel have we lamented the fact that the Ukrainians didn't have a way to interdict the trade across the Caspian Sea from Iran to Russia, right? They didn't have a mechanism for interdicting that traffic. Now they do, and they've used it to some success. Now, we cannot verify the claims that that ship was carrying drones and drone parts, but given the track record for Ukrainian intelligence, I'm certainly not going to argue the point. That's for sure. And the fact that right now in the Caspian Sea, at the site of the sinking of the Port Olya 4, there is a rescue ship trying to salvage the cargo from that ship, tells me that the cargo was worth salvaging. So it was important. And the fact that it was coming from Iran, I mean, come on. Anyway, how many flying carpets can you import every year? It had to be drones. In the last 2 months, we have seen the Ukrainians hit 10 refineries, 10 oil refineries inside of Russia. Now, according to Reuters, this works out to 17% of Russia's refining capacity. And so what we see is a gas shortage in a country that is nothing but a gas station with nukes. Kilometer-long lines of people trying to fill up. If you can even get your brand of gas, depending on where you're at in the country, there may be no AI 92 or AI 95 or diesel. Diesel is in short supply. And the supply just got a lot worse for the Muscovites. Because we saw, let me get it, I wrote it down. The Ryazan-Moscow pipeline exploded. Now, we do not know why. There's no talk of drones. Local authorities are claiming that it was a technical malfunction in the pipeline. Now, what this pipeline is the main pipeline from Ryazan to Moscow for civilian fuel, for gasoline, for cars, diesel, for trucks and cars, whatever. It's also got a southern spur that supplies the Southern Military Command District. And so these are the two big customers: civilian gasoline for Moscow, diesel for the Southern Military Command. According to the Ukrainian GUR, which claims to have carried out the operation, the delivery of refined oil products through the pipeline is suspended indefinitely. Now, we can certainly say that there was an explosion. We can certainly say that it's likely that service is suspended. It's hard to add that indefinitely and feel like I'm being objective about it. But we shall see. The Russians are awfully good at patching this shit up. So we shall see how long, because this will be a major disruption for civilian fuel supplies in Moscow. Moscow, of course, is the capital, and it has largely remained untouched by this war. The horror visited upon the Ukrainians is hidden from the Muscovites. They don't know about it, they don't want to know about it, and they have lived their lives of ease throughout the course of this conflict. It is only now, as Ukraine brings this war home to Russia, that the Russians in places like Petersburg and Moscow are starting to feel some of the reality. Raven, I wish, man, I'd love to see that building in ruins. I'm having a little trouble understanding this part. So and maybe somebody has some insight into this, but look, it was my understanding that Russia refines about 5 or 6 million barrels of oil a day. And refining capacity is down 17%. And they're saying, I'm seeing different reports. Some reports are saying that's 1.1 million barrels of crude oil a day, which is about the right percentage according to Reuters. But I've also seen reports that say 1.1 million barrels of output. And this is important because crude oil has a very heavy specific gravity, right? When you refine it into lighter products like kerosene, aviation fuel, gasoline, diesel, you actually get more out of a single barrel of crude oil than just a single barrel of refined oil products. So it makes a big difference in terms of some of the math, whether it's 1 million barrels in refined products or crude oil. And I'm trying to understand that. I don't have a good answer at this time. It is so embarrassing being an American these days. Holy fuck, is it embarrassing? So the Danish foreign minister had to summon the chief U.S. diplomat to Denmark, to the Kingdom of Denmark, in order to answer questions about 3 Americans in Greenland who have been conducting covert operations. At least 3 people close to the Trump administration, they claim, have been working to promote the succession of the semi-autonomous territory of Greenland from the Kingdom of Denmark in order to sign up with the United States, which currently maintains an early warning radar and missile base in Greenland. Oh yeah, that's a real thing, Feisty. Feisty, if you think Donald Trump doesn't want Canada, he does. As insane as that is to say, he genuinely does. And you know what he's going to do to get it? He's going to wreck the economies of North America. He's already doing it. 3 Stooges in Greenland, Dino. They were in Greenland. Steve, you are correct. Well, I shouldn't say that. Originally, under the Soviet system, the heat was all government operated and owned, right? But one of the things that the oligarchs did at the end of the Soviet Union was they privatized those national interests and created monopolies for themselves where they could just pillage the pocketbooks of the Russian people. And one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, that was privatized were the thermal heating and power generation facilities that supply central heating to all of Moscow and Petersburg, etc. They're a gold mine, right? Because you're literally providing heat for everybody. So that central heating scheme is at work in Petersburg and Moscow. But I don't believe it's any longer government owned. I think it's private now. Well, you can't sink oil tankers, Tycho, right? That's an ecological disaster. There you go. Lars is on top of that shit. So the Ukrainians have been doing it really smart, though. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Allegedly, the Ukrainians. We've seen a half dozen of the Shadow Fleet tankers sunk in ports from Italy to Murmansk. And every time there's explosives attached to the outer hull that are not enough to puncture the bladder, the second hull and the bladder that contains the oil. So they've been able to sink half a dozen of the Shadow Fleet tankers without spilling a drop of oil to date. They did spill some ammonia up in Murmansk. Now, look, every night or every day, right? Every day you guys see the videos. I report that the Ukrainians hit this or the Ukrainians hit that. But the reason you all tune in here, I think, correct me if I am wrong, is because beyond those isolated incidents, what we want to see are the patterns. And the patterns right now are as crystal clear to me as an unmuddied glacial lake up in the Carpathians. They are just that crystal clear. What have we been seeing, right? What do you need to run an army? You need food, logistics. You need fuel. You need ammunition, right? Not only have the Ukrainians been targeting the supplies of ammunition, the storehouses of ammunition, they've been targeting the supply chain, the chemical plants that produce the precursors, like the Tambov gunpowder factory is a great example, because that place produces particular nitrocellulose for particular gunpowder for artillery shells, particularly the 152 millimeter shells that the Russians use, the Soviet standards. The Tambov gunpowder factory, the Ukrainians are claiming they have destroyed. Now, this morning, they are claiming the destruction of the elastic plant in Ryazan, obliterating 4 major buildings on the site, 300 tons of artillery powder, and hundreds of 152 millimeter shells. Local officials are saying that the blaze that's currently raging there is the result of a safety violation. It's not that the Ukrainians successfully targeted it with drones from 600 kilometers away, 400 miles. No. It's that there was a safety. Sergei cannot stop smoking. Foolish Sergei caused a problem. This is the world we're living in. Safety violations. Ivan just can't stop smoking. So what we're seeing there in the targeting of chemical plants, gunpowder plants, ammunition stores is not merely the Ukrainians taking out the existing ammunition to make life difficult for the guys on the front, but targeting the means of ammunition production, disrupting the supply chain so as to degrade the Russians' ability to prosecute this war. Nightshade is saying that Crimea is very busy tonight. Belgorod, Voronezh too. The Ukrainians are not letting up. You can be sure that among the targets tonight will be things like lubricant plants, chemical plants, oil refineries, oil storage, oil transportation, natural gas transportation. Maybe they'll go after the airfields tonight. Ooh, speaking of which, you know what we got today? We got some satellite images that confirmed the destruction of 2 Su-24s destroyed on the tarmac in Voronezh back on August 16th or 17th. It was somewhere around August 16th or 17th. We talked about that. We also talked about the fact that the Ukrainians were claiming they knocked out 2 radars. We got satellite images that verified that as well. So the Russians lost a missile guidance radar for an S-300 system and a 76 N6 radar were both destroyed there. Well over $120 million worth of now irreplaceable radars and another $100 million in aircraft that can't be easily replaced. That's $250 million in a single drone swarm just over the border in Voronezh. Now, the Financial Times, the clown show that is the Trump administration, gives me nausea so bad. It's inconceivable. But I told you how Eldridge Colby, the Deputy Defense Secretary, had said that the United States is not going to be involved in security measures for Ukraine, security guarantees for Ukraine. And I got to tell you, it's my opinion that he is correct, that him and his are going to get their way, which is to not support Ukraine. However, the White House, which is as schizophrenic as any White House has ever been, seems to be signaling differently. Now, look, I don't think we can trust this White House. I don't believe anything that I'm going to tell you next, except to say that this may be the position the White House adopts. I don't have any confidence that they'll fulfill it. It's like looking at the Budapest Memoranda and knowing that these people are willing to wipe their ass with anything on paper. They don't believe it. So, according to reporting in the Financial Times, the U.S. has pledged for any EU-led deployment post-war of troops in Ukraine, to provide no troops, but intelligence assets, battlefield oversight, active participation in an EU-led air shield over Ukraine, which means American F-35s flying over Ukraine and providing air security. EU officials say that they need the U.S. support to pull this shit off. And the Financial Times, citing Trump administration officials familiar with the matter, claim that the White House is ready to make these commitments. I doubt it. I got to tell you. I got to doubt it. I got to tell you, I doubt it. Maybe you're right, inventor. Maybe just AWACS, right? Maybe we'll just provide the flying command post, radar awareness. Maybe. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't count on us right now. I really wouldn't. And it pains me deeply to say that. But I think very much this is America wasting everybody's time, the same way Russia is wasting everybody's time. The only solution in this conflict is to put pressure on the Russians. The Russians need to feel the heat. And for that, we turn to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are the only ones doing it. Right, Drain Man, him and his bullshit 2 weeks all the time. No. This targeted precision campaign that the Ukrainians are running to target Russian supply lines and logistics while never sinking to the level of the Russians who daily commit war crimes against the people of Ukraine by targeting hospitals, first responders, police departments, public infrastructure, schools, right? By trying to degrade the civilization here so that people are forced to flee, creating a refugee crisis in Europe and stoking ethnic divides inside of Europe, which the Kremlin is famous for doing. Rather than doing any of that and sinking to the Russian level, the Ukrainians are very carefully targeting the military assets of the Russians. Now look, some of this is by necessity. The Ukrainians didn't inherit the seemingly endless Soviet stockpiles. I say seemingly endless because after multiple hits by the Ukrainians against those GRA units, the Russians' stockpiles are gone. They're gone. And we know they're gone because we can look at the production dates on the fuselages of the missiles coming in. And the production dates on the missiles coming in are all in the last 3 months. And of course, the Shaheds, they're just using them up as they make them. The problem is they're making 5,400 a month now. Or at least they were. We'll see if that keeps up. So last night, in addition to hitting the Ryazan-Moscow pipeline, there were multiple explosions in Rostov and at the Taganrog Air Force Base, but we don't have damage assessments from there yet. The Novoshatin... Oh, guys, I have a correction. I mistakenly said that the oil tanks at Novoshatinsk that were targeted and burning were each 2,000 cubic meters. I was mistaken. They were the big tanks. 80,000. I was off by a factor of 40, okay? These were the big storage tanks. 80,000 cubic meters apiece. That's like 32 Olympic swimming pools each. Now, that fire is finally out today, and it does appear that 16 of these 80,000 cubic meter tanks have been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. And the fire is finally out. Oh, for everybody asking about the shortage of firefighting foam in Russia, They did have some for this fire. You can see it in some of the pictures, kind of on the scum of the puddles around the fire. Let's see. Oh, at Novoshatinsk, the fire was so hot, so fierce, and lasted for so long that the overhead pipeline, the pipeline overpass, burned right out. Now that's going to affect that refinery's ability to pump oil into the refining mechanisms or to pump it out for export. That's going to be a problem. Turning to the front line, the Russians are really pushing around Kupiansk. Now, here's the thing I got to tell you. You know the Pokrovsk breakthrough from last week, in which a bunch of Russians poured into a small gap in the lines, were almost immediately cut off, and then hunted down. This advance around Kupiansk looks like the exact same thing is happening. I mean, I don't know for sure, right? The Russians might be gaining ground and momentum up there. But I'm telling you, it on the map, it looks like the same phenomena. I'm going to be very surprised if those Russians don't suddenly find themselves surrounded and in the cauldron, just like what happened at Pokrovsk last week. That it looks like a trap to me. Looks like another trap. Now see here, and here's another reason why I think. Because at the same time that this is happening, the Ukrainian Armed Forces 10th Army Corps destroyed the field ammo dump for these soldiers. And it was quite a cook-off, baby. I mean, it was a big pile of munitions that went boom, 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 boom for a couple hours. So these guys are advancing, and their storehouse of ammunition just went boom. Their supply lines are already stretched. They're already out in the open. It looks and feels like another Sersky manipulated, geographically manipulated trap, a kill zone. And I think that that's what's going to happen to these boys. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right by tomorrow, probably. Turetsk, down around Turetsk, the Russians... Wait, what does that say? Oh, the Russians lost 1 tank, 6 heavy armored vehicles, and a handful of light civilian vehicles and motorcycles in a failed armored assault down there in the Turetsk direction. The fighting continues to be very intense around Turetsk, with nobody really moving. Southwest of Pokrovsk, the 155th Brigade said their tankers proved essential in eliminating Russian infiltration groups operating at the edge of the urban zone. So, as everybody knows, right, Pokrovsk is under pressure. It's basically surrounded on almost 3 sides by now. And the Russians are sending small infiltration groups into the outskirts of the city. Well, what the 155th did was they sent their tanks in to just blow the shit out of every building that reconnaissance drones told them Russians were in. And they collapsed the buildings on top of the Russians. And it seems to have been quite an effective strategy. Russian forces took about a square kilometer in Zaporizhia. Russian troops on the left bank across from Kherson City were heavily targeted by bomber drone strikes and precision rocket artillery. Now, these are the same bastards that have been hunting humans in Kherson with drones. And they got hit hard. Hey, Flip, how you doing, pal? Now, this is amazing to me. So in 1955, the Soviet Union put out something called the D-74 towed howitzer. So it's a 152 millimeter Soviet standard gun. It's not self-propelled. It needs to be towed. And these were retired about 40 years ago. They were put into mothballs. Then we saw about 120 of them taken out of mothballs and recently put in the field in Ukraine. The first one of those, we have video of it being destroyed. This was somewhere in the east. We don't know where. We hope that this will be the first of many to be destroyed. 1955. I mean, it's ridiculous. The thing weighs like 6 tons. Okay. So after the Alaska win, Russia is back up to its old tricks. Lavrov appeared on NBC News and he didn't question Zelensky's legitimacy. He pointedly said that they couldn't sign a peace agreement with Zelensky because he is illegitimate. The Russians have the nerve to say that because of the war that they have created, the Ukrainians haven't been able to field an election, so therefore the president is illegitimate. The reality is that they hate Zelensky because he has stood up to them. He has successfully led this country through a perilous time. And so that they are never going to deal with him. Trump can make all the noise he wants about getting a Zelensky-Putin meeting together. It is never going to happen. It will destroy the 3.5 years of Russian propaganda, of the Putin regime telling its people that Zelensky is illegitimate. If he sits down with him, they will tear him apart. His own people will tear him apart. Putin can't do it. It'll never happen. Okay. Big thanks to my buddy Norbert, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I could use sponsors this week, guys. We're doing another barbecue on Saturday, too. I could use a little help with that. If anybody can help out with any of that, the PayPal is in the description. Hey, there's my buddy Andreas. How you doing, pal? Hey, Hacky Sack Trav. Hey, Titch. Thanks to Norbert, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server. Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group. And, of course, to the best moderators on the Tickety Talk, Travis, Feisty, Maddie, Jay, and Pete. Thank you, guys. So, guys, we got 25 minutes left. Sorry, I was not very well prepared tonight. I had a busy day. And I could have been better prepared. Sorry, I got distracted, guys. But I feel like that's a pretty good coverage. What did I miss today? Is there anybody who can tell me a big story that I missed? I chose not to talk about the Luxembourg foreign minister arrival in Kyiv. It's really funny if you look up the video online. I don't know if the foreign minister for Luxembourg went to high school with what's his name, the defense minister here. But he ran up to him after he got out of the car. He ran up to him and jumped in his arms. It was like two old friends, really old friends. Well, my thoughts go out to Minneapolis. Sorry about that. Possible Eurofighter sailed to Ukraine. Didn't hear about that. I did hear about a couple of Typhoons getting scrambled to intercept a Russian jet over the Baltics today. They flew out of Germany, but I didn't get any details. Are there any active wildfires? Not that I'm aware of in Ukraine. There were some wildfires reported down in Krasnodar Krai, out that way. They are under drought and under a fire ban. Preston's report on tortured and killed POWs. Oh, I didn't see it, Ben. But I don't know if you guys saw it. Now, again, I didn't talk about this because I don't have the details. I only just had a chance to kind of read the headlines. But it appears that Russia is getting ready to withdraw itself from the Anti-Torture Convention. So all civilized countries in the world are signatories to the Anti-Torture Convention, which is a pledge not to torture people. It's a pretty low bar, frankly, to meet. And it appears that the Russians are giving that up. They are going to make it clear to the world that we are in the torture business. Michael, my understanding is that Crimea is getting pounded hard right now. Hey, Tony, the PayPal's in the description. For a solo sponsorship, it's $50. If you can't send $50, send something less, and I'll pair you with somebody else and do a shared sponsorship. So I sure appreciate it. They have been from day one of this war. You saw that kid, that POW who was returned to Ukraine with the words Slava Russia, glory to Russia, carved into his side. Like, it's obscene. I heard about the Ukraine soldier who crawled 5 kilometers. Yeah, there's a lot of Russian summary execution of POWs. That's a real thing. Crimea is Ukraine. I'm not leaving this country till I've had a pig roast on a Crimean beach. That's what Flip was talking about, right? My big goal is to outlast the Russians in Ukraine and have a pig roast on a Crimean beach, to which you are all invited. I watch Preston sometimes, yeah. Oh, yeah, that guy Flip. Holy shit, man. I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal. Oh, it'd be great to do it in Yalta, wouldn't it, on the Sea of Azov? Should really do 2, one on the Black Sea, one in Yalta. We'll get some rave DJs to come along, play music for us on the beach. What do you think, Trav? A little EDM? Maybe we could get Clowncore to come out. Harvest, depending on where you are, right? And depending on what the crop is. Because it was a very dry summer, at least in some areas. In 10 regions of Russia are currently under drought conditions. And it is estimated that the wheat harvest in Rostov will be down 60%. It will be down 60%. And that's already starting, right? Like, we're into harvest season in Russia. A rave in Astapol. Andreas, I like the way you think. Drinks in Sevastopol. A rave in Azovstal. A pig in Yalta. I like all that. Speak for yourself, Di. Speak for yourself. Just being in Wales, right? Like, you're like 20 years older than your actual age. Not heard much of Ukraine's sea babies lately. Have they attacked any more Russian boats or bridges? So, Lee, I think the reason you're not hearing about the sea babies as much is because the Russians aren't floating ships on the sea the way that they were. And that's what those are designed for, right? What we are hearing about, though, are these massive drone raids on positions in Crimea, right? We're hearing about that every night. Where are those drones coming from? Now, sure, some of those drones are long-range drones that are fired from Ukraine down to Crimea. But increasingly, it appears that they're being launched not from sea babies, but from the, why can't I think of it? The 5 and 7s, the Magoras, the Magora V5 and the Magora V7, both operate as a remote aerial drone platform. So you can send one of these Magoras down around the coast, right through the Kerch Straits, right up to the Sea of Azov, right up to the beach over Jankoy, and then launch FPV drones from there and take out 2 Su-24s and 2 radars, right? So I think that's what's happening more than anything. Now, we did see some I think they were sea babies, attack an oil platform in the Black Sea recently. But other than that, you're right. I haven't seen a sea baby in action in a while. Thank you, Kiwi Annie. I think we do too. Thanks, Nightshade. I'm too old for the restaurant business. I'm done with that. I can't do 16-hour days anymore. I just can't do it. Yeah, Andreas, I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see interdiction of the Shadow Fleet. Now, you know, one of the things that nobody talks about is that Ukraine does have 2 warships, frigates, in dry dock. The keels have been set. They're just waiting some radar and command components to finish the job. In Turkey. Now, dig it. The Montreux Convention prevents the Turks from delivering those boats to Ukraine. So 2 brand new warships just waiting for the final radar and secure communication systems to be installed. Sitting in dry dock in Turkey, paid for, ready to go. If I were the Ukrainians, boy, I'd be looking for some partners to help me fund finishing those ships. And then, okay, fine, I can't get them to where the battle is. Let's take the battle to where the Russians are and put them on the high seas interdicting Shadow Fleet vessels. I'd love to see that shit happening. Use the fact that the Montreux Convention prevents them from getting into the Black Sea to use them everywhere else. Can you speak to the video of a Ukraine official put out in Russian warning citizens to leave Crimea? Well, I don't know about that video, Roy. I don't know what that is. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Was this a couple weeks ago? After a big hit in Sevastopol? I don't know. Yeah, no, the Russians don't care about conventions. They don't care about the Geneva Convention. They don't care about the Chemical Weapons Ban Treaty. They don't care about the Torture Convention. They don't care about any of it. They don't care about anything. So, Roy, so there's a couple things about the population in Crimea, right? In 2014, when the Russians came in, a lot of Ukrainians fled. I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 Russian colonists, what else could you call them, were brought in. And they were sold confiscated Ukrainian properties, cheap, cheap, cheap. As I understand it, they are mostly left now. Most of that Russian colonial wave has been frightened out of Crimea by the war. Though people are still vacationing in Crimea this summer, tourism is off by about 43%. Something like that, 43, 45. I saw a number recently. But people are still going, which is crazy to me, absolutely crazy. We know that it's at least 6 months now since the command in Crimea told their officers and enlisted men to send their families home. If they had families in Crimea, they should get them back into Russia immediately. And that became policy for the Russian army in Crimea. Families go home. And I think Steve Kennedy is right. I think the Ukrainians are keeping one lane of that bridge open so that Russians can escape Crimea when the time comes. And I do think the clock is ticking toward that time. I keep talking about the siege of Crimea, the siege of Crimea. Crimea will eventually be under siege, and they will starve the rats out. That's what's going to happen, I think. That's who they were. You're not wrong about that, Nightshade. You think, Steve? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. I think we're going to see the Russians fully out of Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, and Kharkiv first. Then Kherson, Zaporizhia, Crimea. And then it'll just be the Donbass to worry about. I think the chances of the beaches in Crimea being stormed by Ukraine are very small. I mean, I don't know. We certainly see a lot of operations that could be preparing for just such an operation. We've seen a lot of boats come in. I think the Ukrainians now have what, like 3 dozen of those CV-90s? That is not enough to take Crimea. I think they're going to starve Crimea out. They'll cut the land bridge by taking Kherson and Zaporizhia back first, through to Melitopol, Tokmak, that line. And then you cut the land bridge, then you take the bridge out, the Kerch Bridge, and now Crimea is cut off. No water, no fuel, nothing coming in. Yep, Steve Kennedy is correct. Well, it's not, it's arid. It doesn't, as I understand it, it doesn't qualify as a desert, except for one like 32 square kilometer patch just south of the Dnipro, just northeast of Kherson City. That's the only official desert. The rest is considered arid subtropical, I think is the technical definition. Trump had a deal ready to sign for Russia to drill. Oh, please. Oh, my God, please, Roy. It makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach to think that the President of the United States is looking to cut deals to make money with this indicted war criminal, genocidal lunatic in the Kremlin. That he puts money over everything else. It is disgusting on every level. And then it's stupid, too. It's so fucking stupid. How much in foreign investment inside Russia has been nationalized, stolen from its owners by the Kremlin since the start of the full-scale invasion? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what the number is? How many billions of dollars in private assets has the Kremlin stolen for itself from private enterprise. Companies like Carlsberg Beer, Juniper Electric, Danone Yogurt, right? I don't see any guesses coming in. Is there lag? Is anybody going to guess? Don't look it up. No, not that much, Nightshade. It's a lot of fucking money. That's the total amount of Russian assets in the sovereign wealth fund at the beginning of or rather in the reserve, the foreign currency reserves at the beginning of the war. 90,000. It is 50 trillions, 50 billion, 60 billion, 200, 300. Wow, big numbers. It is in fact, to the best of my knowledge, $29 billion. That's still a lot of fucking money, right? $29 billion in private assets stolen by the Russian Federation since the start of the full-scale invasion. It is important to note that 13 billion of it, almost half of it, was this year alone. Half of it this year. It's basically been doubling every year. And the owners fall out of windows, or they're out of the country never to return. Whatever the case is, Russia's got their money. Okay. Guys, we have about 5 minutes left. Again, I want to thank Norbert, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I would welcome some first-time sponsors maybe, or any kind of sponsorship for Thursday and Friday. Big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and of course, the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Feisty, Trav, Maddie, Pete, and Jay. Final thoughts. That's you. That's you, Trav. Thanks, Inventor. Hey, Mad Panther. I don't know what that means. I hope India stops buying oil. For me, I don't have a problem with it. If India's buying oil below the price cap, I let them buy all the fucking oil they want. Keep the price down. Keep the price of gasoline down. Russia's not making any money at $45 a barrel. Of course, Designology, please, please. That would be great. More Life in Kyiv streams. You got it. We're going to do more of that. Watch for that. Oh, Michael, he's an idiot. He's just the worst person. How we got that bastard. It just blows my mind. And the funny thing is, in so many ways, he is the exact opposite of everything that the right says that they value. Family values, divorced 3 times, cheated on his wife with porn stars, credibly accused of sexual assault 26 times. Give me a break. Thanks, Di. Dude, one of these days I'm going to get to Wales. Are you near Cardiff? Are you anywhere near Cardiff? I want to go to Cardiff. Half an hour outside Cardiff. Dude, if I get to Cardiff, I'm going to hit you up. We'll get some coffee or something. Get some fish and chips. Awesome sauce. Andreas and I are hanging out on Friday. Thanks, Andreas. That was not a drone, Nicola. Good to hear, though. That was not a drone. That was very definitely a truck. Night, Little Red. Or a motorcycle, something. Wales does all its own things. But yes, by the grace of God, it's been quiet now. So that's good. Kellogg is gone. Keith Kellogg is gone. We were talking last night, me and my buddy, that having him here is like our own personal air defense. Putin is unlikely to strike Kyiv too hard with Keith Kellogg here. There's activity in Kremenchuk. Not true, Pugga Mahone. There's also Indian. Right? In the UK, you have two choices, fish and chips or a curry. I do like an English breakfast, though, too. Oh, and bacon buddies. You read somewhere that Trump is trying to start a sovereign fund. Trump is trying to start a sovereign fund that he can pilfer. He's so dumb. The big problem with these people is that they think money is a real thing. They think that money is real. And so they pursue it. Money is not real. It is a social construct. And when you undermine the faith in that money, it becomes valueless. And what is everything that Trump is doing? It's undermining the world's faith in the dollar. So he's making the dollar worthless. The thing he wants more than anything, he is making worthless. It's ironic in so many ways. Oh, I love a curry vindaloo. Huevos rancheros, Maya Angelou. I love it all. Any update on Putin's health? It's my considered opinion that the Vladimir Putin is dead. Has been for a while. Dead or incapacitated. That's my personal opinion. I'm a crazy person for thinking it. No one should listen to me because I can't possibly be right. All right, kids. It's 1 a.m. here. I'm going to call it a night. I do, Alex. I do not believe the troops will be home for Christmas. I don't. Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Di. All right, kids. Again, big thanks to Norbert Hackoff. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps group, and, of course, the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.